All right. Well, let's get going.
Cue in.
Jonny Hirschmugl, how are you?
Good.
Welcome back. I haven't seen you in what, like 5 days?
Right. And I was just thinking back to when we did the last recording here. That was in October? Or
I know it was in 2019. That's all I know because it was in a folder that was labeled 2019.
I think it was October because I did an art show in November, and then we plugged it at some point during
it was.
Sure.
I think it was right before your art show, like maybe a week or two before your art show. So, yeah, that was a great show, actually. How did you feel about it?
That was fun. I enjoy all the art shows that I've helped either produce or have been just directly mine. I mean, that's a big topic I wanted to even jump in here and talk to you about is missing.
Like in-person shows.
In person. That was like, that has been a big part of my art career and a big like feeding factor, getting all the input back from people face to face and having conversations. And I was starting to really miss that. And then that's when I plugged that idea that I tried. So you were there too. So maybe you can remember. Was it 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
Well, as we were saying offline here, right? Time is kind of in this weird warp and we can't seem to follow it quite. But I think that was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, actually.
Yeah. So what that was, to explain it, it was, I was calling it in air quotes, art show, a live art show. And I was hosting it on Instagram, and I, ahead of time, I reach out to a bunch of artisans, creators, those types of people, and asked them if they wanted to jump in on it. I programmed like 5-minute time slots. And at first I was saying looser, like, let's do 5 or 10 minutes or whatever. Yeah. And then I realized after everyone said yes, I was like, oh, let's make it 5 sharp. Like,
that's a great problem to have, though, to reach out to a bunch of people and everybody say yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
nearly. It was more than because I didn't realize how many people I was inviting at first. I just woke up excited one morning and started texting, and within an hour or two, all the yeses were coming back. Then I went back and looked to see how many people have I actually invited so far. And I already realized, programming wise, because you only get 60 minutes on Instagram Live, that I was already in a pinch. So, and it worked out. 5 minutes sharp is pretty good because we talked ahead of time about what talking points we were going to use.
Yeah, that was good planning on your part.
And then I ahead of time tested and realized I can bump people off if it's getting close, which I didn't have to do.
Oh, sorry, we lost connection.
Yeah, I didn't have to do it to anyone. So that would have been strange anyways if I got that extreme.
So did you find it hard, or do people tend to easily fill the 5 minutes, or do you find that you're kind of scraping for them to get all the way to the 5 minute mark?
No, it was totally good and totally fine because they knew what they wanted to talk about coming into it. And I also wrote down just a couple questions in case there was any dead air time.
Yeah.
I knew I could plug them into a theme real quick and wrap it up.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Oh, good.
Well,
yeah, I felt it was interesting because, when I do these podcasts, for example, back in the day, I kind of debated on like, should I keep it within a time frame? And, I think about my habits and listening to podcasts and most people's habits and realize that long format is just fine because people kind of tend to just listen in their car. Not many people are sitting down like specifically to do absolutely nothing but listen to my podcast. So long formats. But what I found over a period of time is I have a very natural cycle of an hour and 15 minutes-ish. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure why that is because it's just come out naturally. Every time I've ever tried to keep it under an hour, keep it 45 minutes or or go 2 hours. Like I can't. I've done a few where they've been like 2.5, almost 3 hours.
Did
And
they
those
feel
haven't
long though?
No.
Like while you're doing it?
No, that's the thing. They kept the conversations were so great that I just kept going with it. And then I debated, like, should I split that up into 2 episodes or what? But anyway, I didn't mean to like derail your comment.
Oh that's a great topic because I had mentioned to you, but they're still not released. I started a podcast series with Andy Soul before the first stay in place orders. So we interviewed 4 different people. And we have those, but they're not finished and released yet. I was noticing a very similar rhythm that was just appearing to itself. Yeah. I had kind of a guided question timeline that I was pacing everyone through, but I noticed right around an hour, I started to feel like it just needs to wrap up.
Yeah.
It was kind of a natural feeling for me too.
Yeah, I think those are the best ones though, when you feel like it kind of comes to this natural, wrap up where it feels comfortable. It doesn't feel like you're rushing somebody off or you didn't finish a thought or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think the one that you did on Instagram, back to that Instagram live, I was so excited that you even asked me. Sometimes I feel like it's so funny. People around town will ask me to do something and I'm like beside myself. Like, I can't believe you guys are asking me. I'm so excited. Like, I feel like I'm getting asked to the cool table at the cafeteria or something like that. So I was really excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, I'm glad you were there.
It was really good.
I think I would have invited, 50 more people.
Yeah.
And I would like to host it again. And the only downside we did have was some technical glitching. So just being able to actually invite and have somebody accept and come on.
Yeah.
A couple of those, we had some technical bumps. But besides that, there's so many voices around Petaluma that have a lot to share. And it's great to have all the different perspectives. I think that was one of the good things of that formula, that it was almost like a podcast of a whole bunch of different shows slammed into like little mini segments,
right,
or vignettes, which I've always been a fan of vignette format, either in like stylistic writing of short stories or vignette stories like the Coen brothers' latest film, where it's like a bunch of old westerns that don't really relate to each other. Maybe some like theory behind how they relate, but yeah, I'm a fan of that kind of style. I feel like there's some sort of natural attention span in the shorter segment thing that can be fulfilling as long as it actually got wrapped up.
Especially in video.
Yeah.
Because I do think, back to what I was saying before, the way people will listen to a podcast, a lot of people have asked me, how come you're not taping them, videoing them and putting them on YouTube? And I think, well, because naturally for a podcast, people are going to do it again in the car or something like that. They're not going to be watching a video. And even outside of that, at least for my own, what I do, and I consider myself like a good average Joe. I'll watch a video for 3 or 4 minutes and then I'm kind of like, okay, I'm on to the next thing, which I don't know that that's a good thing. Like, I feel like sometimes it's a little,
no,
short attention span.
That was another thought I had.
But I think videos like that.
Because that is a topic I'm thinking of going ahead. And we can jump all over the place. So we can come back to the Instagram live thing again. But now that I'm thinking about videos, going ahead to the future, like our kids' generation age and them growing up, I could almost see, and now that we don't have movie theaters we're crowding into, I could almost see the style of the 1.5 to 2 hour standard time getting shrunken down to like maybe 30 minute is a feature film. Yeah. And because it's almost all going to be online anyways, and our kids' attention spans are much shorter than ours are. So, yeah, I don't know. Going ahead, that might be a format.
It's interesting, to think. We've kind of touched on this the other day, but like to think about what life is going to look like after, You know, it's funny. We're right in the middle of this, and I never actually say it on the podcast because I think everybody's in the middle of it. But like, I'm going to listen to this in 5 years and be like, what is she talking about? We're in the middle of, or maybe coming on the outside of quarantine from COVID-19.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell if it's going to stay opening up or if it's going to shut down because there's a big spike. But yeah, our life has changed since, let's see, what date are we today? We're June 15th-ish. And we've been doing this for what? March, April, May, June, 3 months.
I don't know numbers going ahead anymore. I just know March 12th was like a major date when things got real. And everyone shut down everywhere. And moving ahead from that, we've all gone through all kinds of emotional ups and downs. Mentally, everyone seems to be perceiving this differently, which is hard to come to grasp with. So it's like a lot of more conversations need to happen so that people can relate to what's happening in reality. It's not that we're all perceiving reality differently. It's all happening, and we just need to be more vocal about it so that we can...
Well, and everybody's reality is a little different because, depending on whether you have children or not, first of all, it's just one of many, many variables in this, right? But those of us who have children who had to suddenly go from full-time working, whatever version of that is, whether it's, artistry in a barn or it's, socializing in a co-work space. We were full-time somewhere while our kids were at school. And then the next day, the kids are home. So we became school teachers. And then there's... there's 100 other different versions of what reality was for people. And so maybe that plays a part in us not being able to completely relate to everybody else's experience.
Yes. Okay. So I redact my statement because that is relatable, that our realities are perceived differently due to these big factors, children, not children. I'd say, another big one would be wealth versus poverty and all the in-betweens. I would definitely see some people on the wealthier end because I have some links to that, and I see them being disconnected a lot more than the other end. Obviously, somebody who doesn't have means is having a hard time figuring out how to get any sort of money coming in through any government granting or any sort of, you can call it a handout, but it's not. We're all paying into it with our paychecks. So yes, those struggles make their realities different because they're either more in tune to it or they're less in tune.
Well, and also there's no, or at least there wasn't the level of shared information outside of social media. And so, I'm going to take that out of the equation because that's just a whole shit show in itself. But for me in particular, a lot of the things that I do or the way that I deal with issues or tasks or anything come directly from conversations that I've had with people here in the co-work space. Right. So for example, one of the, like the PPP loan that was an opportunity for many people. That would have been a conversation that people here would have navigated together, and we would have kind of crowdsourced the solution because some of us are better digging into the government information. Some of us are better at asking questions, right? So collectively we would have been like, okay, here's how you navigate that thing. Do this, call this person, submit this information. But that wasn't happening. Everybody was at home in their little bubble, trying to navigate it on their own with different types of skill sets, and a lot of people I know weren't able to take advantage of some of those financial aid programs, for example, because they didn't understand it. It wasn't very easily understood, and they didn't have the support around that. It's, it goes without saying that this was unprecedented, and I don't even know 3 months into it if we still know how to navigate it. That's the thing, is it feels like it's just been an alternate reality that we're all so convinced we're going to bounce out of at some point that we're not soaking in.
I think the way it's being presented to most of us through the powers that be is that there is going to be an overtime.
Yeah.
So then in our minds, we think, oh, so that's like an on-off switch, right?
Exactly.
There's going to be a time when it's just done and we're gone with it. It's becoming more